Hi, I'm Michael Walkup. I'm the artistic director of Page 73, and I am delighted that you're joining us for this new play conversation with 2020 Page 73 playwriting fellow, Emma Goidel. So a little housekeeping right up front if you're joining us live. If you experience any technical difficulties during our live conversation, please email info@page73.org and someone will get right back to you. That's info@page73.org. So we're gathering at the culmination of an 11-day process that we've undertaken with playwright Emma Goidel, director Colette Robert, and a fabulous cast of women, Alana Raquel Bowers, Molly Camp, Michelle Hurst, Diana O, and Kristen Sieh. So over the past 11 days, Emma and this team have been diving in on the script of Emma's new play, Women and Children. Page 73 wanted to come up with a workshop model given the limitations of Zoom that still allowed our writers to make real progress on rewriting their new plays. So we took what's usually a 4 or 5 day process in person and extended it over 11 days, only meeting on Zoom for about 3 hours or sometimes less along the way. So that helped fight Zoom fatigue, also gave our playwright time in between rehearsals to make changes to her script. And Emma, throughout this process, has been incredibly hard at work. And I'm so grateful to the actors and our director who fueled her with their artistry and their fascinating conversations around this play. We're able to keep working in depth with our writers like this, even during the theater's shutdown because of our community of donors. And they've really been sticking with us. And I just want to say how unbelievably grateful we are for that. You can learn more about the upcoming new play conversations this coming winter. And also you could decide to make a donation yourself, all at page73.org. So we're gonna meet Emma and Colette first and hear a bit about the process. We'll then welcome some of our actors who are gonna read a scene from early in the play. And finally, we're gonna open it up for questions from you, our audience. So let me explain quickly how that's gonna work, how you can send us a question. At the bottom of your Zoom screen, you should see a button marked Q&A. And if you click that, you'll open a text box and you can type a question. And that's gonna be seen by the panelists, by me, by the actors. And you can do that at any time, starting now, throughout the scene, throughout the conversation, and also when we're asking questions at the end. Your fellow attendees won't see what you've written. At that point, after the scene, we'll welcome our associate producer, Kari Ullman, who also joined the process as a dramaturg for the last 2 weeks. She'll be moderating that Q&A and asking as many of the questions that you type in as is possible during our remaining time. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to welcome playwright Emma Goidel and director Colette Robert. Hi. All right, let me give everyone the brief bios. Everyone received a link to the program, and there's a link to the program wherever you might be watching this in the future if you're watching it not live. So Emma Goidel is the 2020 Page 73 Playwriting Fellow. She's the 17th fellow in our history. We select one fellow every year from hundreds of applications and then provide financial support and individualized artistic support all year long. Emma has also spent the year as a member of our Interstate 73 Writers Group. And before we had the privilege of getting to know her, Emma also had her plays developed by our friends at Club Thumb, Ars Nova, Playwrights Realm, among others. For many years, she made theater in Philadelphia, where she also co-founded the collective Orbiter 3. Colette Robert has directed all over New York, around the country, recently at Playmakers Rep, Ensemble Studio Theater, Chester Theater Company, and importantly to me, at the start of 2020, Colette directed the Page 73 production of Stew by the incredible Zora Howard. That production was nominated for many, many awards, including a Drama League Award for Outstanding Production of a Play. And just this week we learned it was the most nominated production at the upcoming Aldelco Viv Awards, one of which is specifically for Colette as director. Colette's also a writer herself. Her piece, The Harriet Holland Social Club, presents the 84th annual Starburst Cotillion in the Grand Ballroom of the Renaissance Hotel, recently received a grant from New York City's Women's Film, TV, and Theater Fund. Emma and Colette, welcome.
Hello.
Why don't we start, Emma, with you telling us just a bit about how you came to write this play, Women and Children?
Yes. So the play is about a real thing happening in the world, though it's set in the near future. It's about pregnant women who are charged with crimes against their unborn babies and what those prosecutions are really accomplishing and what the options are for women who find themselves in that situation. And I started writing about it because I was pregnant and I was reading the New York Times one day and I stumbled into a trove of reporting from the editorial board about this long term conservative legal strategy to end abortion by establishing in the courts that unborn babies were people. And the way to do that was to find pregnant women whose behavior could be construed as harmful or in some way law breaking towards a live child and to charge them with that crime against their unborn child. And I was like, what? It made me very, very angry. And as a pregnant person, I had already kind of experienced just a little bit of kind of what the sometimes coercive dynamics are regarding the care and just behavior toward people who are making babies. What's good for the baby maybe isn't what's good for you. What's good for you maybe isn't what's good for the baby. And a lot of different people feel that they have opinions or thoughts about that. And so I just started reading and researching. And the deeper I got, the more I learned that this was not just about this conservative legal strategy. It was also connected to how the law thinks about people who are pregnant at all. And this kind of question of what do we do when there's a person and they have their own rights, but they're making another person? What's the state's interest in that other person? And all this, I guess, sounds very kind of abstract and theoretical, but it has really real consequences on people's lives. People who are charged with these crimes, whether or not they end up going to trial, it can totally destroy their lives and their families. And so I was really interested in looking at the people whose lives had kind of become collateral damage within this larger political landscape. And I was thinking about this when I was pregnant, and I started a version of a draft about these ideas that I was supposed to workshop in March. And then, of course, as with so many other things that went the way of COVID. And I ended up having all this time as a full-time parent again, taking care of my baby while my partner was working and theater was shut down. And I wasn't writing for a couple of months. And when I moved in with family and had childcare again and was able to get back to writing, this new idea for how to talk about this topic, how to tell the stories from this set of issues just came very quickly. And I wrote a draft of it in 3 weeks. And I've been so lucky to have page 73 to work through that draft with me. And now here we are. We've had this amazing workshop with these actors. And I know we'll get some time to talk more about what that was like later. But that brings us right to now.
Yeah. And I just want to say how I always find it such a privilege to work on plays so early. I mean, this is a 2020 play. This is a play that got essentially sort of reimagined and then fully written during this strange time that we're all living under. And, we've been staying connected all year, Emma, this way, which is not the way we intended at the start of your fellowship year, but I'm glad we've had such a kind of incredible script to be talking about. And I don't know, it gives me hope that we're finding ways to just keep pushing work forward, even that's getting created right now. So of course it helps to pair you with incredible folks like Colette. Hi, Colette.
Hey.
I thought we'd hear more from you about the process after our audience gets to hear the segment. And if you're watching this after 4 days from when we taped it, we will have had to edit out the scene as per union rules. So you'll be jumping right to the conversation afterwards. But for those live and for those who can catch this soon, Colette, why don't you help set up what we're about to see while the actors join us, some of the actors join us. Emma, you and I will go away, and then afterwards we'll all show up again.
Great. So the scene you're about to see, you meet four women who are working at an agency addressing some of the issues that Emma just discussed. Exactly the nature of their work is revealed in this scene a bit and then throughout the rest of the play. So you will meet Phyllis, played by Michelle Hurst, Jasmine, played by Alana Raquel Bowers, Nadia, played by Diana Oh, and Margot, played by Molly Camp. And here we go.
I want to welcome the cast to stick around and also welcome Kristen to join us. And hi, Kristen.
Hi.
Spoiler, the character Stephanie they were just talking about does then become a massive part of the play. That's what Kristen joined us to work with. So thank you for that. And I'm also going to ask now Kari Ullman, who's our associate producer here at Page 23, also a dramaturg who was with all these women all week long, who's going to join us and lead some Q&A.
All right. Hi, everyone. So I'm going to ask a few questions to this amazing team, but keep feeling free to use the Q&A box if you're with us, and I'll be seeing those questions as they come in. So first of all, Colette, I wanted to ask you, you've been doing a number of new projects on Zoom over the past 8-9 months. So I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about what it takes to succeed with work on Zoom, or what kind of work you think will have to wait until we're all able to gather again together.
I'm still learning. This is a kooky format using a program that was designed for like corporate offices. And it's not film and it's not theater, it's something in between. But I feel like where there's a will, there's a way. Almost anything could be done this way, I think. I personally would probably not want to do anything heavy movement. So maybe my production of The Wolves will have to wait until 2021, 22, I don't know.
Sounds about right. And Emma, can you tell us a little bit about what has most surprised you about this process we've embarked on together over the past 11 days? What have you learned about the play?
Oh my gosh. Well, something that's been really unique to this process is that because we were working on Zoom and we split up what would normally be like a short kind of 1 week rehearsal process into a 2-week process, and we rehearsed for short periods of time, I was able to write every day, which I don't always get to do when I'm in a workshop. And also because we knew we were only going to present a little short piece from the play, we didn't need to focus most of our workshop time on rehearsing for performance. We were able to really just focus on reading new pages, talking about the text, getting to know the characters, getting into really thorny questions at the heart of the story. And it's, I think, like the most rewriting I've ever done in a short workshop process like this. And I'm so grateful that happened because we're on Zoom, which was totally surprising. That like didn't occur to me that if we weren't rehearsing for a reading where we needed to really focus on performance, we really would just be focused on text, and how liberating and generative that would be for me.
And so now I also want to ask the actors, what's unique about participating in a new play process like this as an actor? The script has undergone a lot of changes. There's a massive scene between Phyllis and Stephanie performed by Michelle and Kristen in our rehearsals that went through some pretty remarkable transformations over the last couple weeks. So I'd love to hear some of you speak to that, what it's been like to contribute to this process.
I'll go first. I'm the oldest. The thing that I find different, I don't know if I like it quite much yet, is not just that you're missing an audience when you do a final presentation after you've worked on stuff for several days, but I miss the I mean, we've all made nice connections online this way, but I miss what that means if you're in the same room, I must admit. And you're not just dealing with your fellow actors, you're dealing with your playwright and your producers and your dramaturg and everybody else. And the energy that you get in that way is what it made it feel a little bumpy. I mean, I was almost too relaxed some mornings. Some days I was like, you still have your pajamas on. And I mean, you don't go to a regular, when we normally do this, you get dressed, it's something you're going to do. And this was like, yes, we're doing something, but it's in a different, almost like in a different country or something. That being said, I said this to Michael earlier, I found a greater intimacy for some reason, maybe because of the lack of us being able to see and touch and talk and really laugh with each other face to face, that you don't have. Everybody's got their position, everybody's got where they, what it is they're doing on this production and everything. And this, because a shortage of time, but also the only time we connect is when we each see ourselves or each other in these little squares. And so it's sort of like you go toward an intimate something just because that's the only thing you have. It's the choice that you have to encounter people. Now, some of you all know each other, but if I'm coming in, and I am, as a total stranger, Elisa and I had a great conversation last night that had nothing really to do with the show, but we had she's our stage manager, just for everybody else, but we talked about outside stuff. We got into heavy duty conversations about the world or something, but it's sort of like you don't usually have that conversation with somebody until like you've been rehearsing for 4 weeks and you open and you do, whatever. This is like everything gets compacted and you kind of have to and everything. So that's sort of one of the things I think on, as I say.
And you get to see everybody's pets.
And that's true. And you don't sneeze because I'm allergic to everything, but you can see the dogs and you can see the cats and nothing bothers you. That's fun.
And Kristen, what was it like for you working on a character who changed so sort of epically overnight or from week to week?
Gosh. I mean, Emma writes people in this marvelous way. It's just like Emma writes people really well. So I feel like there's like it's heavy material, but it's easy to speak it because it feels like people. And I think the shifts felt more like about structuring the arguments and structuring for the audience's understanding of what was going on more than I think for who Stephanie is. And so actually in my experience of it, it felt pretty consistent because she kind of remained in the same emotional state and the same kind of dilemma, but Emma did all this amazing like whittling and shifting of how that is revealed and when it's revealed, and that reveals more of the dynamic between the two women. I feel like we got to a place where that was getting really sharp by the end. I also realized only yesterday that my audio settings had been set to half volume the entire time we rehearsed.
No.
So that's an exciting
revelation.
Right. Make a note.
I'm really glad I figured it out in time to talk at this talk back.
No, it's wonderful. I'm so glad we can hear you loud and clear right now. And Emma, next question for you. So I was wondering if you could tell us a little more about the sort of the futuristic dystopian component of the play, and then also what are the challenges of writing something that's both futuristic but also extremely topical at a time when, the present itself feels incredibly dystopian and apocalyptic?
Yeah, so okay, well, this will be a spoiler for the wonderful group of us who are here. When this play is produced, you'll know. And we learn very late in the play, after we see this long encounter between Phyllis and Stephanie. Stephanie being this woman who's just been separated from her baby, who tested positive for heroin while giving birth. Her baby tested positive for metabolites of heroin, and she immediately was charged with delivering drugs to a minor and sent to jail, where she would recover from a C-section by herself and wait for trial. And Phyllis comes to her and explains the nature of her situation, and we begin to learn more and more about what Stephanie is facing and what her options are, and and what this prosecution is kind of standing in, what these prosecutions, like I said before, how they operate in society, what they accomplish. And we learn late in the play that what Michelle's the actor. Sorry, I'm looking at your Zoom.
It's okay.
Agency is offering they're offering a drug that erases your memory of pregnancy and childbirth. So the idea is, if you have been caught up in the criminal justice system, there's no really chance that you're going to be reunited with your new baby. You're going to have to go through this enormous carceral ordeal, and it's just going to chip away at reproductive rights more broadly. And then you'll also have to live with the burden of not only all the problems that being in jail kind of results in for your life and the stability of your life, but you'll also have to carry the burden of that grief for forever, that you gave birth to a baby that you were separated from, who was then adopted very quickly, which this is a real thing that happens all the time. That at least what this agency is here to do is to stop these cases by doing this deal with the state, where they'll take the women out of the system and enroll them in this clinical trial of this experimental memory drug. And the question sort of is, as we've been talking about in the workshop, what do you do with your grief? Do you learn to live with it? Or do you blitz your mind if given the chance? And if your grief is not only about what's happening to you and your family, what's happening when you have just grown a person in your body and that person is taken away from you while you're, essentially knocked out. But that grief is also, in fact, used to take away people's rights. Do you take that escape hatch? What does that escape hatch mean? So that's what the play is really about. And writing a play that takes on a thing that's happening right now and kind of games forward a little bit into the future is really sticky. I think that this issue already is surreal. Like that it happens and that it has been happening is, for people who don't know about it because they haven't been impacted by it, I think sort of unbelievable, because it's so painful and so kind of hidden. So I was really interested in how that already lifts into a slightly otherworldliness. And then now my job is to figure out how to maintain those details that root us in the reality of this experience. So we don't lose it just feels like, well, we're in the future, so bad things are happening to women that aren't happening now. To maintain that sense of nowness while also giving us a world where we can believe that a mind drug is available and meaningful. And I don't think I've quite gotten it yet, but it's a good task for continuing to work.
And the 9 of us here on your screen, and then also our incredible stage manager, A.K. Howard, we've had the past 2 weeks to spend a lot of time really deep in conversation about some of these issues. So Emma, Colette, all of you, I'd love for you to weigh in on how some of the conversations and discussions we've had during our rehearsal table work sessions sort of infused the direction of the play or came to inform the direction Emma's taking her writing.
Well, I can say it's been such an amazing experience to be in conversation with this specific group of people. And I don't think any of us, when we were assembling this team, maybe we could have predicted just knowing how awesome everyone is, but I don't think we could have predicted how specifically awesome, what things everyone would uniquely bring in terms of their experience with some of these issues, their experience with not even specifically with pregnancy, abortion, queer parenting, adoption, and with how race maps out onto all of those issues of reproductive rights. But everyone has just brought a really enriching perspective and specific experiences that kind of create this environment that feels just full of, just really full. And even if it's not, I think some of that does like populate the script. And then it also just kind of populates I would say the air between us, but of course we're on Zoom. But that's like the richness of rehearsal, is getting to share those personal stories and connections and feeling how that deepens the work between characters. And I felt like that was happening even though we were online. I don't know if you guys agree.
Yeah, I feel like the diversity of experiences that were shared in the room really enhanced what I love about the play. What you eventually sort of track is 3 different women experiencing loss of a child. And I feel like, and they're so different. And I think the diversity of us really enhanced and lifted up that particular aspect of Emma's story.
I also want to piggyback Kristen's point and a wonderful nudge that Michelle told us about in rehearsal. Kristen's point of Emma's ability to just write people so well and so meticulously and so specifically, that led to so many different conversations to be had, because there was so much to do with the incredible language that was given to us. And Michelle gave us this little tidbit from one wonderful playwright, Ntozake Shange, saying, if you have all these characters, just like take them to the deli with you one day and see like what they would order, where they would stand, just envision them in the real world and the real issues that are happening right now. And I think we would all choose different things in the deli. So inherently, we were going to bring a lot of different colors and tones and ideas and wonderful things to this process. But it was so much fun to do it off of a platform that was already filled with so many possibilities.
Well, thank you, everyone. I was going to say, I got to join for some of the conversations this week. I now get to, help run a nonprofit, and my start back when I was like 17 years old, the first thing I ever did was volunteer at Planned Parenthood. And that was both where I learned about nonprofits and about reproductive rights, and getting to be part of this process for the last 2 weeks was just particularly fun for me and just fascinating. I just want to thank all of you, Kari. Thank you to our actors, Michelle and Kristen and Diana and Alana and Molly. Thank you, Colette. And of course, thank you so much, Emma. Your work this past 2 weeks has been incredible. I want to thank everyone who joined us today, especially Page 73 supporters. We're so glad to share this conversation with you to cap off these 2 weeks. If you know someone who you think would appreciate this conversation, there's going to be a link of this recording emailed to you. And it's also going to be on our website, page73.org, which will direct people to YouTube where they can watch this. We will be back soon after Thanksgiving with our next new play conversation with playwright Marvin Gonzalez de Leon and his incredible new play Madre de Dios. That's on December 10th. I hope you will join us then. It's really good having been here with you all. We're going to sign off now. I hope everyone stays well, stays safe, and have a wonderful rest of your day.